Hi there. In this video, I'm going to discuss strategies to achieve industry-leading return on investments for producers of gold kiwi fruit. The strategies that will be covered today is how can you increase chill hours? How can you advance flowering to extend the growing season? How can you protect crops from frost, strong winds, hail, the impact of hard rain, and excessive heat? How can you achieve early or late harvest and achieve the Zespri quality premiums? How can you increase the average yields per hectare? How can you change the orchard design or reduce the size of the orchard while still maintaining your target number of trays that you want to supply to the market? The following information that I'm going to share today is based on discussions with over 15 major kiwi fruit growers that I visited with in New Zealand in November of 2025, and based on the key learnings from producers of cherries that were using automatic retractable roofs for the last 12 years. In discussing the requirements of kiwi fruit, it became very clear that there's a lot of similarities between the requirements of kiwi fruit and cherries because they both need chill hours for bud development, and they both develop flowers on 2-year-old wood. So a quick overview. We'll talk quickly about the challenges and limitations of existing kiwi fruit orchard design, which you already know well, but provides a good basis for further discussions later on, where we will talk about the automatic retractable flat roof houses and how can those flat roof houses impact on the orchard design and what would be the resulting impact on the financial model. So the question that came up frequently during our discussions is why is the average yield around 16 to 17,000 trays per hectare when some growers have achieved 22 to 27,000? And secondly, how does the current orchard design lower yields and quality? Because from talking to growers and walking through different orchards, we could see that the number of trays per bay was varying based on where we were in the orchard itself. So a quick review of open field challenges. Erratic, suboptimal, and extreme weather conditions prevent growers from achieving consistent, best possible returns. Problems with frost, heat, wind, rain, and hail. But open field does have advantages. We get uniform light, temperature, humidity, and wind. We have natural plant and fruit development, and bees are active when conditions are suitable. Some of the problems, though, is with global warming and temperatures increasing, growers are starting to struggle with chill hours. And if they use high cane, it prevents organic certification. The erratic weather also has a risk of frost or hail. And if you have inclement weather during the pollination, either the bees are not active or the pollen doesn't stay viable long enough to ensure proper pollination. When you get the strong windstorms in the spring, it damages leaves and breaks vines. Hail damages leaves and fruit, and birds can damage fruit. And most importantly, the strong wind and hail causes breakage of leaves and stems, which creates the entry point of PSA. And also causes scarring of fruit, especially on the red variety. Now, I like to study plants in their natural habitat and understand how do changes in the orchard design or environment impact on the plant itself. And so when we look at kiwi fruit grown in its natural habitat, it tends to be surrounded by other types of crops, which may be taller, helping to provide some shade during part of the growing day. When we have a horizontal structure to the plant, it maximizes the amount of light we're harvesting for photosynthesis. The problem is we have a tremendous leaf exposure here, which also creates a very high potential for transpiration. So when the summer days hit and you have high sunlight, high air temperatures, low humidity and wind, you can actually be sucking too much water out of the plant. And during a visit to the kiwi fruit orchards in Italy back in 2023, there were growers that were losing some of their orchards simply because when they start to get 40-degree temperatures through the summer, it was just sucking too much water out of the plant too fast, and the root system did not have the potential to pump water as fast as the leaves were losing the water. For those that are in frost-prone areas, they're installing overhead irrigation or frost fans, but the problem is they have limited protection and they do not really protect you as much from a cold front, particularly the frost fans. The damage to kiwi fruit from strong winds has caused the introduction of windbreaks. The problem is windbreaks have positive and negative effects. And if we look at this picture here, this leaf was taken beside the windbreak. And this leaf here was taken from the middle of the orchard. And we can see there's a dramatic change in the size and the structure of the leaf caused by the windbreak blocking a lot of sun radiation, which is resulting in the plant transpiring less. When plants transpire less, you get a more vegetative growth, which will cause stem elongation, which can necessitate increased pruning, but vegetative growth also can reduce bricks and fruit firmness. So while the windbreak has a positive effect in terms of protecting from physical damage from wind, it can have a negative effect in the sense that it's creating a lack of uniformity throughout the orchard. And when I visited New Zealand back around 12, 13 years ago, when PSA became a big problem, growers were then installing plastic roofs over top to try to keep the rain off. And 13 years ago, I took a picture showing a leaf in full sun and a leaf under stationary plastic. And again, you could see the dramatic change in the plant structure and development when it was no longer exposed to direct sunlight and the natural outdoor environment. Now, in discussing growers about where do they see the most productive fields, some growers commented that they noticed increased bud development on the north side of the orchard, which is probably due to those vines experiencing increased chill hours. Because when you have clear sunny days in the winter, the sun radiation will actually heat up the vine more than what the air temperature is. And so if we think of the sun is coming on this angle in the winter, this windbreak is now shading or keeping this direct sunlight off these vines, which is increasing the number of chill hours, which could be indicating that there's a positive effect by keeping the sun off the vines when we're trying to increase chill hours. We also see this in the cherry industry where growers are struggling with chill hours. They will be installing different types of fabric to try to keep the sun off the trees during the chill accumulation stage. Now, windbreaks, while positive, they do create a lack of uniformity in chill hours, sunlight, wind, transpiration, water stress, and trays per bays. And when we use the visual imaging of different systems to look at the number of fruit per bay, we can see that there's reductions in the number of trays when we get closer to the windbreak. So while the windbreak was having a positive effect over most of the orchard, it was also having a negative effect on the vines closest to the windbreaks. For those growers that are struggling with hail, when they add hail net over top of the orchard, it does help prevent wind damage and hail damage to leaves and stems and protects the fruit from scarring. However, hail net can also reduce pollination since bees do not like the environment. It reduces light and photosynthesis. The hail net can trap the rain, causing higher humidity levels inside in terms of the air, but also can trap humidity in the soil. The hail net will also prevent plants from transpiring sufficiently when we've got optimal conditions outside, simply because it's creating a sheltered environment. And again, this can increase the vegetative growth, requiring more labor for pruning and potentially could reduce the dry matter. When we look at investments, it's not cheap to build an orchard for kiwi fruit. Around $900,000 is the total cost without any significant protection. And so you spend $900,000 and you have zero protection from the extreme weather other than potentially hail net or some frost fans or irrigation sprinklers, but nothing in terms of regulating or managing the climate. So now you can optimize and manipulate the climate and create uniform conditions throughout the orchard using reinforced polyethylene retractable roofs. And I'm going to show you a video now that introduces you to the retractable roof house.
Is excessive summer heat, low humidity, or shortage of water destroying your yields, quality, and profits? Cravo's retractable flat roof houses are the perfect solution for dry locations or for rain-tolerant crops, improving your profitability by optimizing the climate throughout the year. The flat roof house is a lower-cost solution to help protect you from a financial loss by automatically closing hectares of roofs in minutes, shielding crops from excessive temperatures, nighttime cold, strong winds, hail, dew, or the impact of a hard rain. But just as importantly, the flat roof house gives you better control over the growing environment, so you can optimize the climate and increase your revenues by advancing or delaying the harvest to hit peak market prices, optimizing plant temperatures and transpiration to increase fruit size, firmness, and bricks, improving pollination by regulating temperature and humidity levels, increasing overall plant health, and helping reduce disease and insect pressure. With over 40 years of innovation and proven performance behind its development, the Cravo Flat Roof House also delivers operational efficiencies that result in big savings, especially for large installations. Houses can range in size from 1 to 100 hectares, or 2 to 250 acres, allowing you to maintain uniform daytime temperature and humidity levels, especially with the use of high-pressure fog or mist cooling. Use machines to work the soil or to spray crops more efficiently. Reduce the number of spray applications needed by 50% or more due to the improved climate and plant health. Provide an open and comfortable environment to improve worker efficiency and provide ease of supervision, and benefit from significant cost savings compared to other types of houses. Covering 45 hectares or 115 acres, this flat roof house can be closed within 6 minutes, powered by 54 motors all working in unison to block out damaging weather. With the roof and walls closed, a flat roof house can withstand 110 km/h winds. And in the over 30 years since it's been introduced, not a single flat roof house or covering has been lost due to high winds. Higher wind loads are also available, and in the event of severe winds, coverings can be retracted to help protect the structure and roof covering from damage. All roof coverings will absorb the impact of a hard rain and are water porous to prevent water accumulation on the roof. These coverings typically last 8 to 12 years, and the flexible roofs have proven to be very resistant to large hailstones. There are 4 different types of retractable coverings to choose from, depending on your needs. White cooling roofs for dry climates. White open cooling roofs for humid climates. Insect net, as well as blackout roofs. For vine crops like tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers where protection from insects is needed, a stationary or retractable layer of insect net can be installed below the retractable cooling roof. And for crops like berries, a stationary layer of bird net can be installed below the retractable cooling roof. Operating the flat roof house is both crop-friendly and eco-friendly, drastically reducing water and electricity usage. Powered by Cravo's efficient drive system, one motor uses only 3 to 5 kilowatts of electricity per day per hectare and can close up to 9,000 square meters or 2 acres of roof, requiring very little power, even for large installations. This retractable cooling roof over avocados in one of Cravo's Australian installations resulted in an increase in yield by 80%, while using 70% less water than the open field orchard. Even in punishing heat, the cooling roofs are very effective at reducing plant temperatures and transpiration rates, increasing the yield of crops while at the same time reducing the amount of water used for irrigation. Flat roof houses accommodate the installation of high-pressure fog systems or low-pressure mist systems, which could be used to replace pad and fan cooling systems, reducing water and electricity usage by over 95%. So, don't let extreme weather or suboptimal weather conditions destroy your profitability. Take back control with a retractable flat roof house by Cravo.
So in this picture, this is a 10-hectare installation, and the entire 10-hectare project will open up in 5 minutes or close in 5 minutes using 12 motors. Now, when you have a retractable flat roof house installed over your kiwifruit orchard, the retractable flat roof house eliminates the need to install windbreaks, hail net, frost fans, or overhead sprinklers. And so in this picture, they have stationary walls only around the entire perimeter, but they also could be motorized roll-up walls in the event that you want to allow the wind to blow through freely, for example, to increase chill hours and maintain more uniformity. So the variances in yield and quality would be reduced in a retractable flat roof house if you eliminate all the windbreaks, because you will not have these losses that are happening when you have larger installations and you don't need these intermediate windbreaks located through the middle of large fields or orchards. And this will help increase your average trays per hectare. So the strategies are: you can use the retractable roof houses to uniformly manipulate plant temperatures, to increase chill hours by preventing direct sunlight from heating up the vines, advancing the spring flush to extend the growing season, protect plants from spring frosts. Then you can use the retractable roof to optimize pollination by either increasing or decreasing temperature, humidity, or wind to ensure maximum pollen viability and bee activity. You can prevent dew accumulation as the fall arrives, because you can close the roof 95% at night, which will help prevent the dew accumulation that typically occurs on an outdoor orchard or under hail net. And you can prevent excessive transpiration midday by closing the roof when you have high sun radiation periods. What are some of the outcomes? You can reduce the orchard footprints due to the higher productivity and the elimination of wasted land due to windbreaks. And you can consider locating new orchards to locations which previously were not desirable due to problems with frost, rain, or wind. And those locations typically have lower land costs. Some of the operational outcomes: the focus is, again, increase the total trays per hectare so that it beats the industry average, and improve harvest labor and packing shed efficiency by advancing or delaying the harvest. And this was one of the key points that came out of the discussions back in November, because when you have everything being ready to harvest in a short time, it puts immense pressure on having sufficient pickers and having the packing house processing everything. So if you can use the roof to advance some of the harvest earlier to spread it out, or to delay the harvest, you are now spreading this harvest over more weeks, which will then take the pressure off both the harvesters and on the packing house. From a financial point of view, we want to focus on increasing the average price per tray, because if you can advance the harvest or delay the harvest, you can pick up the premium from being earlier or later. And in order to achieve the Zespri quality premiums, you need to make sure that the climate's optimized all the time and that you don't lose that quality because all of a sudden you had a period of inclement weather. And you can reduce your total fixed cost of production because you can minimize the costs associated with high cane, fungicides, or insecticides And if you can maintain a better climate where you can reduce the need for pruning, you could save some of your labor on pruning. The focus, higher and more consistent profitability and return on investment by using the climate optimization and weather protection to ensure that you never incur a weather-related loss. You achieve industry-leading returns on investment year over year, and target a 2 to 3 year return on investment on the incremental investment per hectare. So if you're going to invest $900,000 on a traditional orchard, and you're going to spend, for example, 1.2, 1.3 million on a house with a retractable roof, that return on investment on the additional $300,000 or $400,000 would be 2 to 3 years. Can the numbers make financial sense? In the next video, I will be reviewing a return on investment model comparing 3 gold kiwi fruit production systems: an uncovered orchard, an orchard covered with hail net and overhead sprinklers, and an orchard covered with a motorized retractable roof house.